Going, picking up from where we dropped off last week, Mr. Kodadad Toos. This too was a, an interview with Erwin Luck, I believe. Let's see that. Yeah, Erwin Luck, Dr. Farhad Shah, 75.
He must have been brother of Khosrow.
Yeah. Before I got to know or see Baba, an incident happened to me. I used to work with tractors in lands which were around Shiraz. Love that name, right? Shiraz. There were a few people who were against me, and I didn't know this. One of these days, a fight started between us. Those two who were fighting with me were really very big and strong. One of them picked me up from the ground and threw me down like you would a lamb. I had long hair then. He took my hair and started to bang my head against the ground. He would tell me, "You are not a Muslim. You are Zoroastrian. Therefore, we must kill you."
I have to look closely because they make them obscure.
Oh, yeah. When was the date?
1213.
Let's see.
Therefore, we must kill you. I had heard from my mother that whenever you are helpless and there's nobody around to help you, that you should ask for help from God and the saints and the prophets. I pleaded with him to let me go. He wouldn't listen and continued to bang my head on the ground. When I saw that none of my pleas were effective, I thought it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to do what my mother asked, and I started calling on all the names of all the prophets and saints and God and Muhammad and Zarathustra and all the holy people, but it had no effect. I was very disappointed. God, the prophets, and the saints were supposed to help in these times, but they weren't paying any attention to me and they weren't helping me. All of a sudden, I started thinking that maybe there was one of them I should have called on, but hadn't. Either I have to call his name as well as the others, or perhaps he himself alone is the only one whom I should have called, and I didn't call. Suddenly, I remembered the name of Meher Baba. At that time, I had just heard Baba's name. But as soon as I started to think of Baba and Baba thoughts came to my mind, I felt such a strength in me that I got out from behind this big man who was over me and I threw him aside. When I got up, the two others, who a minute before were after my blood to kill me, started to have fondness and love for me. The one who was ordering the other to beat me and kill me also stopped and said, "Let him go, let him go." Mayor Duvala, can you unmute, please, and continue reading? Mayor, you got to unmute.
Okay, Jai Baba, I couldn't believe how it could be that this man in India could help me while God and the saints and the prophets couldn't do anything for me. But today I know who Baba is. I realize what Baba says when he says that he is God. I know that then in the predicament, it was Baba who had come to my help. After that incident, I started to look for Baba to try to find him. In 1962, Baba gave me permission for all those who wanted to come for his darshan to go to him at Guru Prasad in Pune with my two brothers, Khodia and Kursu, and some others. we had started out for Pune. 4 days before Baba's darshan began, Baba accepted us, although Baba would allow us to go and see him. He told us that we could only see him during the 4 days that he had designated for the meeting. All these 4 days before the meeting, it was raining. Very heavily. 4 days it was raining very heavily. And we were thinking to ourselves that we had paid all that money to come from Iran to India. And if it continued to rain, we won't be able to come to see Baba in this open garden or to have Baba's darshan under the rain. But it is so happened that the day that Baba had designated for beginning for the meeting, the clouds went away and the sun started to shine. After the rain, it was so fresh and so beautiful that it looked as if we were in heaven. All the leaves were washed and all the flowers were out. It was very beautiful. When Baba had asked for people to come, at that very hour, all the people gathered from all over the place that day. It is also rained for 1 hour. Those who had love who had loved even that who had loved even enjoyed the hour of rain. But as for us who didn't have that much love, we went and took shelter somewhere from the rain. After an hour of the rain, the clouds went away and it was a clear day. The 4 days of darshan were very beautiful and clear, and everybody enjoyed it tremendously. One incident happened to me. I noticed that Baba was very loving and very kind to a certain Hindu. I was thinking to myself that here we are Zoroastrians and Baba is Zoroastrian, and we have come all the way from Iran to India. And why doesn't Baba express the same love to us? And why is that this Hindu is getting all the attention? This would make me jealous. It has happened that I was sitting on a chair next to my uncle's wife. She got up to go to the toilet, so I placed my purse over the chair so that nobody else should come and take that seat, because all the seats were designated. But at that time, a lady who had been with us at the hotel where we were staying entered the gathering. Since we had become acquainted with her, I took the purse from the chair and she came and sat there. In a little while, sat there, sorry, sat there. In a little while, the wife of my uncle arrived. So I was wondering what I should do, because the wife of my uncle had come and she is an elderly lady. And on the other hand, I couldn't ask the other lady to get up. So I got up myself and asked my uncle's wife to sit. I started to go towards the back, uh, back of the hall to find a place to sit there. But I heard a very, very beautiful song being sung by someone, and it was so beautiful that I don't think I have ever heard anything that beautiful. I really like that song. So I went to see who it might be. who can sing so well. Lo and behold, I saw it. It was the same Hindu man whom I was jealous about and whom Baba was paying so much attention and love to. So I thought to myself, how powerful, and knowing Baba is knowing what was going on within my heart. He brought about this circumstance so that this bitterness and jealousy might leave my heart and leave my heart. It's gone very high. Leave my heart. He brought about the circumstance so that this bitterness and jealousy might leave my heart and I might know why Baba was paying so much attention to him again in 1965. There was permission for public darshan and we went to see Baba. When we arrived, Ali Akbar Aloba took us to Baba. When we entered Baba's presence, we noticed that there were some Westerners, Americans sitting around Baba. In introducing us to Baba, Ali Akbar started to tell Baba how wonderfully we were working for Baba and how Khusro was spreading Baba's message with his scab to people and how Khodyar was doing a lot of Baba work. At that time, Baba started to smile and I felt that what was transpiring was that Baba was telling the others that since we were Ali Akbar's countermen, he was saying all those good things about us to Baba and that Baba was making a note of it and making a joke of it. And it was truly such because we weren't really worth what Ali Akbar was saying and all the praise that was claiming for us.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Meher.
Thank you.
Betty, could you unmute and continue, please?
Far as correspondence is concerned, all the letter writing would go through Ali Akbar and he would read it for Baba. The most significant letter which I exchanged with Baba concerned the time we had just translated the first Baba book into Persian. The police service in Tehran was after me because of that. They asked me to go to court. So I went for the trial and I took the book. They asked me who published the book and I said myself. Then they told us to go and they would study that book and then we were to come back in a week. I returned after a week, but there was no answer. They asked me to come after another week. So I went back after another week. They told me that I had a little book with them. They told me that I had a little book with them and that it didn't cost more than 15 rials. So if I could forego that 15 rials and then I could go free. So I wrote to Baba and I asked him whether I should sue them since they had taken a lot of my time. I told Baba about the whole affair and asked whether this was a good idea or not. Ali Akbar wrote back, no. He said, members of the government are like sleeping lions. If you play with their tails, they will wake up. Let them sleep and don't trouble them. Don't bother them. Baba had dictated this letter and Ali Akbar sent it to me. The way that I feel about myself is that I am a little puppet in front of Baba and that he plays with me and makes me dance the way that he wants. Of myself, I have no power. If I've done anything or if I've given Baba's message to anyone, it has been Baba's spiritual hand which guided mine to do so. Of myself, I have done nothing. I have been like a puppet. I want to go back and ask, I didn't quite understand. Are they asking him not to charge money for his book and everything's okay? Is that your sense of it? He's
Yeah,
charging.
that's the sense I got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, shall I go on?
Yes, please.
Jamshid. My name is Jamshid. I was 9 years old when there was a man named Rustam Agabadul who came to Mazra. He took our names to go to India. About 20 people wrote their names to go to India. The next day, we were supposed to be delivered to Yazd so that from there we could go to Bombay. However, none of the others had the courage to send their children. Only my mother took me to Yazd. There we met other children from elsewhere in Iran who were going. We got in a car to go to Shiraz. We were all crying because we were children and we were afraid. When the car got outside the city gate, it came to a group of camels. The car honked and the camels got frightened and ran into each other. This amused us and we started to laugh and forgot our fear. The road to Shiraz was really very bad. It was not really a road. From Shiraz, we went to Bushiri, where we took a ship to India. It took us 5 days on the water. We reached India, and after a day, we took the train to Ahmednagar and to school. There were 14 of us from Iran. We didn't know where we were going. We went to the school and joined the children already going there. Only people connected with the school were allowed inside. It was exclusively for the students. We wore a uniform different from everyone else. If a stranger entered the school, we would not speak with him unless we had permission from Baba. We studied there for about 2 years. The time we were there was very good for us, and we were very happy. We would go to sleep at 8 o'clock. There were 2 people who would watch over us during the night in the dormitory. They would take care of us. If we had to go to the bathroom, they would take us to the toilet and back. In the morning, when it was time to get up, these 2 people would ring handbells and we would get up. If someone did not wake up, they wouldn't call out, but would go over and ring their bells next to him till he would get up. After we got up, they put dental powder in our hands and we brushed our teeth with our fingers. Then we would wash our hands and faces and go to the dining hall. The dining hall was a big hall. We each had a plate, a cup, and a bowl. Everything was numbered. Even the plates were numbered. Even our suitcases and our clothing were numbered. We would take our cups and put them in front of us. There was one man who had a kettle full of tea and milk. He would go around and pour into the cups. Somebody after him would serve bread. Whoever wanted bread could have it. Whoever wanted milk could have it. And whoever didn't want anything could eat nothing. We would eat our breakfast, then we would get up and go to the classroom. First, we would go to our dormitory and pick up our books and bags. Then we would go to the classroom where we stayed till lunchtime. There were 4 languages taught in that school: English, Gujarati, Marathi, and Persian. There were 4 teachers for that.
Thank you, Betty. Marianne, could you unmute and continue?
Yes. At lunchtime, we would go to the dining hall. We would get our plates and our bowls and our cups and put them in front of us, and the servers would come and take the cups and the plates out into the kitchen. In the kitchen, they would serve rice and dal. They would put the dal into the cup and rice on the plate, and they would bring them and put them in front of us. There was one who would go around putting water in the cups. After lunch, if the weather was not good, We would just leave the dishes on the tables as they were, and the cooks themselves would wash the dishes. But if the weather was good, we would go out and wash the dishes ourselves. Then we would go to the dormitory. That was a place where we would sleep and where we would study also. We would study there until the afternoon. In the afternoon, we had a few hours of play. We played all kinds of games, including football and cricket. The elder boys would play a different game than the younger ones. After the game was over, we would take our plates. After the game was over, we would go back to the school and start our studying until the evening. At evening, we would go to the dining hall again. We would take our plates and things and put them in front of us. At night, we had bread and different kinds of stews to go over it with vegetables of different kinds and greens. After that, we would go to sleep. We would not eat meat. Sometimes Meher Baba himself would come and sit in the middle. All the children would gather around him. We would fall all over him and play with him and hold his hands and feet. One time when my father was there visiting, one of his children had gotten ill in Iran. Baba knew that my father's child had become ill. He told my father that his son had died. 2 days later, a letter came saying that yes, indeed, this had happened. There were very many things like this which would happen. They were like miracles. You couldn't believe them. For example, somebody would come to the gate. There was a boundary beyond which they couldn't come. From that distance, Baba would know what business the newcomer had at the gate. If he wanted him to come in, he would give him permission to come. Otherwise, he would send him away. For example, if any of the children was sad or unhappy, he would go and sit next to him and embrace him and ask him what was wrong with him and what was making him sad. Of course, he knew what was the cause of his unhappiness. He would encourage us to get up during the night and rub a cloth around our eyes, and then sit during the night and repeat God's name. There was one child that I remember having seen myself who would sit up at night, and he would repeat God's name so much that he could not sleep at night anymore. And he would continue to sit up and repeat God's name until finally he could not eat or he could not do anything else. At this time, Baba would go and try to feed him, spoonful by himself. After a while, this boy left and went into the desert somewhere. What happened to him and where he went, I don't know. For the rest of us, also, we would try to get up earlier each day. For example, one day we would get up at 8. The next day, we would try to get up at 7 o'clock. We would try to get up earlier and earlier. There were times that we would get up at 1 in the morning. Some of the boys would sit up during the night. Those who didn't want to would sleep. There was another man there who was a little older than the others, and he looked like he was mad. He would play with the ball, and sometimes he would scream. We asked Baba what was wrong with him. He said, "This man has practiced asceticism for a long time. He has tried a great deal to reach God, but since he has performed a miracle and was not one who was allowed to perform miracles, He has become like this, and he is mad. Now he had come to take shelter in Baba so that he may help him to come out of this state. I don't know what happened to him either. When I was sent to Bombay to school, my father was away. When he returned, he asked my mother where I was. My mother told him that I had been sent to India. So he came and followed me there. When he came there, he started to work in Baba's outfit. He would take his salary there and work for Baba. He would be a watchman during the night. We were all mad for Baba. When it was time for us to leave, we fell at Baba's feet and we cried and we cried. Finally, he said that we had to go. Then he would send for us. Since our suitcases were there, we would come back there. That satisfied us. Otherwise, we wouldn't go that easily. We all fell at his feet and we cried that we didn't want to leave him. There was nothing else we could do, so we left. Baba instructed them to bring us directly back to our parents and take a receipt from them and then come back. We took the boat from Bombay to Bushiri and from Bushiri to Yezd. In Yezd, there were no cars. There were no roads to our village either. But somehow they managed to get a car only for me, and with myself only in the car, they drove me to my village. They took a receipt from my mother. They returned, and I remained there. Baba was constantly with us. We were always together with Baba. Whenever we had anything, he would come and be with us and sit with us. Sometimes he would do very strange things, and his food was also very strange. In spite of it all, I still have faith in Mayor Baba, and I believe in Baba because I know that his spirit is still over us, that his spirit is free.
Thanks, Marianne. Ernie, could you unmute and continue, please?
Mr. Shahryar Mira Montfort. I first heard of Baba's name when Mr. Baidul came to Iran to take the children for Baba's school. After hearing Baba's name, I could not keep myself in Iran. All I wanted was to go to Baba. I had no money, so I borrowed some and went to Bombay. There I ran out of money and didn't have enough to take the train to Baba. I borrowed 5 rupees, and when I got to Ahmednagar, that money also ran out. I was so hungry when I got there, and yet there were 2 or 3 kilometers still to reach Baba. I walked and finally arrived at a sign saying Baba Jan High School. I started to walk around Meherabad. Finally, a Hindu boy came and asked me what I wanted. I told him I'd come to visit Baba. So he went and told Baba, and Baba told him to ask me to go and see him. So I went in Baba's presence and I bowed down. Baba asked me, "Have you eaten anything?" I said, "No, I am very hungry." The first thing Baba directed was to give me something to eat and fetch Mr. Afsari. So I ate something. When Afsari arrived, Baba asked me to tell all of what I had done. I told him all of what I had done in my life, of the Murshid, whom I had been with for a little while, and of the hypnotism and mesmerism that I had started to learn. After all this, Baba told me that all of this was zero, was nothing, and was a cause of misfortune. He said I should do something that would make me become the owner of everything. Then he told me to go and follow Afsiri. With Afsiri, I went to Arangan, and at night came back to Mirabad and had dinner. He told me that in the morning at 8 o'clock, I should go to see Baba. So I slept at night, and then next morning at 8, I went to see Baba. When I went there was a boy called Ramjoo or Bua Sahib, who had come down also to Lower Mirabad. He was in charge of the rest of the people there. Baba told me that I should go after Bua Sahib and do whatever he would tell me. Baba told me from that day on, I had to observe silence, complete silence. From that moment, I started to observe silence and went to Upper Mirabad. My job was to sit at the gate there, to mince vegetables, and to stop the cars which would reach there, because they had to have permission to go any further. So that was my work there. Whenever anybody would come to the gate, I would go and tell Bua Sahib that somebody had come. I worked there till finally Baba himself came to Upper Mirabad. Baba gradually started to give love to the children in the school, and these children were absorbed in that love. Then gradually Baba started to open the Prem Ashram. There were 6 of us Baba put together. We were older than the others. 1 was Muslim, 3 were Hindus, and of which one was a doctor. I was from Iran, and another was a Parsi. We were in seclusion for 6 months. We had practiced reading and writing for 6 months. For 2 months, we would have food only once a day, 2 months water once a day, and 2 months milk once a day. After 2 months, 3 left our group. They had acquired some love, and after that they left. Finally, only Dr. Ganakar and myself were left. When I had first arrived at Mirabad, I didn't have faith that Baba was God himself. Baba knew that I did not have this faith. His orders were that I should sit in a corner and for 2 hours think of God and meditate on God, repeating, Yor Yazdan, Ramaz. He told me to repeat this mantra every morning for 2 hours, from 5 to 7 in the morning. Finally, I recognized that Baba himself is everything and that he is all. Baba had told Bua Sahib that at 7 o'clock he should come and fetch me. One day I was sitting and meditating under the tree when it started to rain and pour very hard. Buramaji forgot to come and tell me that it was 7 o'clock. 2 hours passed, then 4, but I did not get up. After a while, Buramaji saw there was somebody sitting in the rain under the tree. All of a sudden, he remembered, and he came and called me. Then I got up and left that place. He told Baba about this, though, of course, Baba knew all about it. Baba called me. He told me, you did well. You listened to me, and you did not disobey my words. Even if it were not rain, but fire, you should not have gotten up, and you should have continued to sit there.
Thanks, Aaron. Joy.
After the 3 in our group left, Baba said that was enough and that we should come out of seclusion also. This whole period of silence and seclusion lasted for 6 months. One of the Prem Ashram boys was called Ali Akbar. Baba had given him so much love that he was a little out of control. Baba asked me to follow this Ali Akbar around so that he may not harm himself. This Ali Akbar is neither Alaba, who resides at Mehrabad, nor Syed Ali of Sobs and Throbs. I should follow him, but I should never touch him. So I went with him so that he might not harm himself. The first day he smashed me in the nose and my nose started to bleed all over the place, but I couldn't touch him. I couldn't hold his hand to stop him. He could come and beat me and do whatever he wanted to do. For 6 months, I was with this Ali Akbar, wherever he would go from morning till noon. He had so much love that wherever he would find a stretch of water, he would put his stomach in the water so that he may cool it. He would tell me, oh, Shahriyar, I am burning, I am burning. He would keep saying, I'm burning, I'm burning. Every day from morning till noon, this is what he did. I would tell Ali Akbar, oh, sir, it is lunchtime. It is noon now. Everybody has gone for lunch. We are hungry. When will we go back and reach home? Finally, he would say, okay, let's return. When we would start back, in just a few minutes, we would reach the ashram. That was all Baba's help. It was as if we were flying. We would get back there. We would get back in such a short time. It would feel like a car or train that goes so fast. When we would get there, we would see the children had just started to have lunch, so we would join them and have our lunch. After 6 months of being with him, I was at the end of my rope. I came to Baba and I said, Baba, I can't go on with him anymore. I'm fed up and I won't go with him anymore. Baba said, all right, you don't do it anymore. I myself will take care of him. I will look after him. Another one of my chores was to sit and take care of the 33 boys in the Prem Ashram, to look over them and make sure they didn't hurt each other and they were kind to each other. For 6 months, we went to Toka. There appeared Mr. Leek from Germany. He had spent 25 years in Vivekananda's ashram in Calcutta. He was in the world of light, but Baba took it away from him and sent him all around India to spread Baba's message. This Mr. Leek was to travel on foot, but if anybody offered him a ride, he should take the ride. If anybody gave him any food, he should take the food. He should go all around India asking for nothing. One time, some 20 or 30 of the elder ones went to Happy Valley. We climbed up the mountain to visit the abode of an ancient king. We came slowly down the slope, but one Baban Shabniz, an Indian athlete, tried to come straight down the mountain. In doing so, he got caught between two stones and couldn't get past. He called out to Baba and suddenly found himself freed and on the ground. At that moment, Baba was constantly giving everybody a hard time about that boy, asking, what happened to him? Where is that boy? Where is that man? But we didn't know what had happened then. Baba gave an order that nobody should speak in the dining hall. So a few of the children who wanted to speak would take their lunches outside of the dining hall and they would eat it there and speak there. Sidhu and I were in charge of serving luncheon. We would speak also. We had to speak because we had to ask the children what they wanted to eat, whether rice or dal or vegetable. Baba was away on a trip. He came back one evening at 11 o'clock. We all went and greeted him and had his darshan. Then he came and sat with us and asked who it was who had spoken in the dining hall. A Parsi boy named Nadir said that Sidhu and I had spoken. Baba called us and said, why did you speak? We didn't say anything. What could we say? We had spoken. Finally, Baba said, you have to leave now. He told Badul, give them money for their way and for their tickets and have them leave. I told Baba, I will go by myself. I don't need any money for the tickets. Now that I must go, I will go. Finally, Baba said, no, don't leave now. Leave at 4 a.m. Then we went to bed. But how could we sleep? We started to cry and cry. We cried so much there was nothing left but tears. We couldn't see anything else but the tears. Then Kaikushru Afsari went to Baba and spoke with him about us. He told Baba we were workers, that we had to serve lunch, and that while serving lunch, we had asked what to serve. He said we were servers and not eaters there. Finally, Baba called us in and told us, I have forgiven you this time, but don't speak again in the dining hall. Up to this day at meal times, as much as I can, I keep silence and don't speak.
Thanks, Joy.
You're welcome.
Marvin, please.
Concerning Chota Baba, Baba once came to a gathering of the boys and asked, who wants love? Chota Baba, Abdullah, said, I do. Then Baba took Chota Baba's hat and put it on his own head. From that day on, this boy, who was such a good student, changed. He could not play, he would not play. He could not eat, for even the food would appear to him as Baba. He would say, I won't eat, Baba. Bua Sahib brought him to the ashram. He thought the boy was ill. He had him sleep there, and we covered him with blankets. We say that he was really saying, what is this world? What are studies? What is money? What is food? After dinner, they took Chota Baba to the hospital. There were 6 beds in that hospital, so that whenever there were any sick people among the children, they could go and rest there. They took Chota Baba there and had him hospitalized. Bua Sahib went and told Baba what had transpired. Baba came to Upper Mehrabad. I was with him when he went into the hospital. Baba said, he is not ill. Only a tip of a hair of love has affected his heart. This is love. It's not illness. It was in this period of time that he had given to all the children in the school, more or less, some love. The Hindu boys had a Hindu teacher who would teach them spiritual lessons. Dada Chanji, who was the principal of the school, was in charge of Gujarati. He would teach the spiritual lessons to them. For Iranians, it was Kaikushru Afsari who would teach them spiritual lessons. Ramjoo, who also had printed some books, would be in charge of Urdu and would be teaching spiritual lessons in Urdu. Baba would also come up the hill. He would tell the boys, if like the clock, which goes 24 hours, you too can constantly and continuously think of me, then I will make gold out of you. Every day, Baba would be coming up the hill, and he would dispense his love to the children. He would pat them on the head and shoulders. He would embrace them. There were many of the children who could not eat because they had so much love. He would feed them with his own hands. The boys would gather around him. He would feed this boy or that boy or all the boys who were around him and who had much love. Morsel by morsel, he would try to feed them, and they would refuse to eat. He had given them love. One was Syed Ali, another was Lobaji, one was Ramu. There was another called Gamu, who just before dying, Baba took to God and made him one with himself. Baba would tell us, I will make you God. I will make the King of Kings out of you. Another one was James, who was a Christian. Just before he passed away, Baba also made him one with himself. There were many like him. Another one was Hormuzian. He had come first to take away his 2 brothers from Baba. He was a Baha'i. Finally, he ended up staying with Baba for a month. Then he left everything and he lost everything. Also, before he passed away, Baba made him one with himself. When we were in Bijapur, Baba told his brother, I have made your brother one with himself. Baba himself would give me love and would keep me warm in his love. When Baba was on a trip, I could not sleep at night. Baba had given me love, and when he would return from his trips, we would go for a whole kilometer to greet him. When he could come back, we would sit with him for an hour and listen to him. But I have never wanted anything from Baba. When Baba had asked me to be with this Ali Akbar, who is in love and had a lot of love for Baba, so that he might not hurt himself, this Ali Akbar, who had so much love that wherever there was water, he would put his stomach into the water, and he would tell me that he was burning. Whenever he would get near Baba, he would go under Baba's garment and wouldn't want to come out, like a child who wanted to have milk. I, who was along with this Ali Akbar, also was drunk. I was drunk and didn't know myself and didn't know where I was going, where we were, what we were doing, until we got back to the ashram. The first time Baba went to America, Syed Ali went with him. Baba took all of us elders to himself. He pricked our fingers with a needle and blood came out. He rubbed it in the palm of his own hand. He said, "This is your signature you have given me. You should not smoke, you should not drink, and you should not go after other people's wives and daughters. You shouldn't say lies and you shouldn't cheat anybody, and you should be honest." We went to see them off when their boat was leaving for America. Baba had given us orders to go back to Iran then. He told me to be with my old father and mother and with my wife and children. There was a time when Baba himself came to Iran. I don't quite remember when, 1931 more or less. At first he went to Khorramshahr, then to Qom and Isfahan, and finally Yezd. When he came to Yezd, he went to Mubarak to visit the man called Bua Saheb, who is in Baba's ashram in Mehrabad. There, Syed Ali's uncle takes a gun, puts it in his shoe, and goes to see Baba to kill Baba. But when he reaches Baba and gets in front of Baba, he forgets completely what he had come to do. Then he returns, sending big, huge peaches for Baba. In Yezd, many people came to see Baba, including many of the clergymen and Muslim religious people. There were many of Baba's disciples with him, both from India and also from Iran. There were 14 people altogether accompanying Baba in this trip. They rented a bus to go from Kerman to Sahidan and then to India.
Thank you, Marvin. Uh, Mayor Kiran, could you unmute and continue, please?
When Syed Ali had to come to Iran to Eds, his uncle would not allow him to go back to Baba. Baba had asked me and Adi Shirajamast to pick up Syed Ali and take him back. According to Baba's written instruction, we were to take Syed Ali to India. We went and prepared everything and we brought Syed Ali to Eds. The day that we came to Eds, Baba had also sent Baidul to Eds. And so Baidul and I and Syed Ali started on our way to Kerman and Jahidan and to Quetta, where the Iranian consulate gave us a lot of trouble. There was a Parsi lawyer who confronted this Persian consulate, and then there was peace. Then we could go to see Baba. From Quetta, we went to Nasik and we were there for a while. Then we went to Bijapur. In Bijapur, all the singers and all the eminent people and all the knowledgeable people would come and fall at Baba's feet. They would not do anything but cry there. As soon as they would get there, they would start to cry and cry. and they would leave with tears in their eyes. Every day it was like this. These great ones would ask no questions. They would just fall at Baba's feet and cry there, and then kiss his feet and then leave. We came again with Baba to Nasik. They had rented a building in Nasik, and Baba was staying in the third story of that building. Every day, all of us Baba lovers would go and sit in front of Baba. One day, a man from Khorasan and a companion came then to see Baba. He said that for 14 years he had practiced asceticism in the Himalayas, and he had eaten the leaves and fruits of the trees and had meditated there, and had just come back to the world. He had come to Baba to ask whether he should marry or not. Baba said, "If you want to marry, then go ahead and marry." Baba told us to look at this man, that after 14 years of asceticism, he had come back, and what does he want? He wants the world, and he wants a wife. There were others who would come to Baba who had practiced asceticism for 20, 30, or 40 years, and they would come to Baba to ask what they should do, and then Baba would tell them what to do. Baidul first wrote me about having a Baba meeting and center in Iran, saying that all over the world they have Baba center and meeting, and that they should also in Iran have a Baba meeting. There were 4 of us who first started to have Baba's meetings. Espandiar Vesali, Khodadad Tus, Sapur Merdadi, and me. And so for 2 or 3 years, we would have the meetings at Espandiar's house. Nobody would come and nobody would go to the meetings. I wrote to Baba that nobody comes or goes to the meetings. Baba said, even if there are only 2 of you, that is enough. I am there with you. I do my own work. Don't get into an argument with anyone. I don't need any propaganda for anyone, but only that you should spread my message to people.
So I don't think we want to read the bibliography, do we? See if there's anything after it. No, that's the end. So we'll go, we'll stop here actually. It's a good place to stop. It's almost 11:30. And next week we'll start at the beginning of the book because we've just been reading the supplement.